Hello guys, my name is Johnny Stone and I'm a professional Hearthstone player for Team Flow Esports. So today I'm doing a quick video on the Old Gods, and there's 4 Old God cards which were released recently, and I'm gonna discuss their impact on the meta. Keep in mind that this is on high level ladder play and tournament meta, not so much on fun decks and fun play. Alright, let's just jump straight into it. And the first card I'm going to discuss is Ishari, Rage Unbound, 10 mana, 10/10. At the end of your turn, put a minion from your deck into the battlefield. So while on paper this seems like a powerful card, it is rarely or almost never played. The reason for this is that the meta is too fast for this card. You don't really get to 10 mana that often. Against aggro decks you die or win before that time, and the effect, while pretty good, is not reliable enough that you can really get away with playing this card, in my opinion. So let's say you're about to die and you have 10 mana and you want to play a 10 mana card. There's just better options than this, because this does nothing for the board in the turn that it's played, and while the effect is pretty good in control wars, it's not. Let's put it that way. If you play a control war, a mirror, you don't want a card out of your deck onto the battlefield, because this goes to fatigue too often, this matchup, and you get in a disadvantage usually. And against mid-range or aggro decks, the game doesn't last long enough for this card to take effect. So this card is not seeing any play at the moment. Maybe if the meta changes to a way slower meta, we can see this card played, but even then I believe it's just not strong enough. So let's look at this next card. That's Entzot, a card which was considered to be very powerful, and it is very powerful in the right circumstances. There's a couple of decks which take advantage of it. For example, Entzot Heal Paladin is a popular deck at the moment. Also there's other decks which, for example Priest, which can make use of the card. So this card is used not extremely often, but when you have the right deck for it, it's very strong. For example, if you run a deck with Sylvanas, Cairn, maybe if you play a Hunter and you have Savannah Hymen in your deck, this card can get huge value. And it's a bit slow, like 10 mana obviously it's slow, but when you get the value out, especially if you run Taunt with Death Rattle, then the impact on the board is so massive that you usually will win the game immediately on the spot. So this card is seeing play, not a lot, but it certainly is a core card in some decks. So this card, yeah, it is played and it's impacting the meta quite a bit, actually. So next card, which I'm going to discuss, is Khotun. This was considered to be probably the most powerful card in this expansion. It's just such a high impact card. Usually what we see is that this card, when it gets played, is around, I don't know, 20 or 16 at least, and then like 16 damage on the board, and the body it leaves is also 16. So that's a powerful impact card. It turned out that not all classes can make use of this card. What I've seen so far is that Khotun is very strong in Warrior because of the side cards that Khotun gives you, like for example the 7 mana Shield Bearer, which gives you 10 armor if your Khotun is at least 10/10. And also there's some other stuff like Twin Emperor, for example, which also works if your Khotun is 10/10 and it summons 2, 4, 6 taunt minions. So the Khotun is played a lot. One other thing to consider is that it's given you free, I believe. So Khotun, if you buy any pack of the Old Gods, then you will get Khotun for free. So that's a legendary even like people who don't play the game for a very long time have access to and will play it. So there's some decks which use it. I would say that out of all the decks which use it, is Warrior is the most powerful at the moment, but Druid is also close behind, also very playable, and the other decks really, you can make an argument for playing, for example, Cartoon Priest or Cartoon Warlock with Reno maybe, but it's just not that powerful, and I think these classes benefit more with if you make a deck without Cartoon in it. So Cartoon on itself is not very powerful, but the synergy it has with some cards like the double 4/6 taunt, or for in the Warrior example with the Shield Bearer, is very strong and makes it worth playing in these decks. So this card was considered to be powerful, turns out to be powerful, and meta impacting, I would say, is fairly significant impact on the meta. I believe to be Cartoon Warrior to be probably one of the strongest decks at the moment, so certainly there is impact there. Last card, but not least, is Yogg-Saron, and this card has, since the release, it was like, when I first saw this card, my first thought was like, yeah, it's a fun card, it's like whatever, like some people will play it for fun, like if you, for example, in Tempo Mage, you put a couple of random stuff in it, like random spell here, random spell there, and you play Yogg-Saron for a couple of more random spells just for fun reason. But it turns out that it's not at all the case like this. And Yogg-Saron is huge. I would say the most impact on the meta of all these cards so far. So let's think about this. Yogg-Saron will get your random spell, and from experience I can tell you that the random spells are, a lot of the times, they will clear the board. Also, it's very likely that you will get cards on the board, like for example Call of the Wild, or even like the nerfed Force of Nature from Druid, like the 2/2s. So and also what's also very likely to happen is that you will draw some cards. This might be cards like random cards or cards out of your deck. So what's gonna happen is, if you play the Yogg-Saron in the right situation, it will be overwhelmingly a good impact for you. So let's say your opponent has massive board control and a couple of minions on the board, and you don't have any minions on the board. Also, your hand is empty. So then, and you have enough life so that the Yogg-Saron is unlikely to kill yourself while you play it. So then you can play it almost with no risk, because you are in a bad situation anyway, and the Yogg-Saron might just turn the game around. And while there's other cards that turn the game around, for example, in the situation I described, something like an Old Deathwing would be pretty good too. You get a 12/12 on the board, you wipe the enemy's board completely. Yogg-Saron is even more powerful than that, in my opinion, because it gives you the ability to draw cards. So if you have a completely lost game and your opponent has 5 cards in hand, you have no cards in hand, your opponent has a lot of minions on the board, you don't have anything on the board, Yogg-Saron can easily turn the game around. Will first giving you a board, which is not just one minion, but more than one, which is more difficult to remove, obviously. If you get a Call of the Wild, maybe another buff on top of it. And also it can give you card draw. It's not uncommon for Yogg-Saron to just give you a sprint, 4 cards, and maybe another Lay on Hands on yourself, another 3 cards. So Yogg-Saron can be extremely impactful and can turn around games which are lost, completely lost, 100% lost, and there's no other card like it. And so it turns out that Yogg-Saron is a worthwhile inclusion in a lot of decks, which may not seem intuitive, but if you play enough of it, you will know the situations where Yogg-Saron is a good play and when it's not. For example, if you are already winning, then playing Yogg-Saron is kind of unnecessary risk. I wouldn't take most of the time. But if you're like in a bad situation, then Yogg-Saron can get you out of it pretty easily. And the only thing that you should consider is that you're really likely to draw a lot of cards. So when you're close to fatigue, maybe Yogg-Saron is not the best play if you have other options. But other than that, I think the card is pretty strong, like almost game-breaking strong in some cases. The best candidates I have found for this card are, the best decks is Tempo Mage, because you have naturally a lot of spells, and also what is pretty good with it is Malygos Druid, which may come as a surprise to most, but I've played a lot of this deck recently, and the effect is very strong in it, because you have enough spells, and you can make use of the card draw. If you're behind and you play this card and you get 4 or 5 new cards, you can make use of them because you have powerful cards in general, which synergize well. So this card is huge surprise for, I think, for everyone, that it's actually playable and very strong in some decks, or in a lot of decks actually. I believe there's also some hunter decks which run it, and it's working there too. So I hope you enjoyed this little video I made, and if you like it, please give me a follow on all the social medias which you use. The links will be provided in the comment section, and visit flowesports.com. Take care, guys. Bye bye.